Hello, hello, it's Tuesday, and I'm here with my best friend,
I
Jesse.
love being besties.
Do
You
you?
and oh yeah, absolutely.
You don't get sick of
Oh
your bestie?
no, especially when they send me things in the mail.
Oh my God, that package matches my black and white outfit.
This package is so on brand for you. And thank you for sending it. You do you mind if I open it?
Please do.
All right.
I sent it
Um,
exactly for you.
oh, awesome. I got it in my mailbox today, my new mailbox that I just installed. I upgraded my mailbox with one that I got at the thrift store.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was
Dude.
new. It was only 40 bucks. It was like a nice metal brand new mailbox.
I
Anyway,
gotta, I want to fly out just to go to the thrift store with you.
I know it was so fun. Oh, I thought it was just a book, but it's not just a book. It's a book and a keychain that you made for me.
Yeah, what do you think of what's on it? It's
Oh, that's
color.
awesome. Is that like the Tree of Life?
Yeah, it's a tree of life,
And it's
an owl.
an owl. Oh my God, that is super cute. And
You
it
love
says,
owls.
I love owls. Wait a minute. Hold on. Let me get my, oops, I almost tripped on my cord. My owl is right over here.
Oh my God, you love owls because you're
I
so
love it.
wise.
And I also look over here is this latch hook that I'm making for you, and then I'll send you this in the mail, but it's not done yet, so I can't see it.
Wow. My God, I love the owl motif.
My
And it's
owl.
white, which you're doing an all white thing.
Yes. Yeah, I'm on the white vibe. And then look, here's the other keychain you had sent to me.
Oh my
This is
God, best friends.
we
Oh
are
no,
best.
what's it like to have two keychains? You know, my best friend one broke. I wore it though.
Good?
I wore it on my keychain. I should have just hung it on the wall.
Oh, right. I have mine hung on my fridge. It's awesome to have two. I have a whole collection now. I I also have a whole bunch of other like astro beads that you made for me. They're hanging right over there. But I guess I won't spend this whole episode showing all the things that you've sent to me in the mail, except this thing, which
This
is
is one of the I'm more excited about than most things I've sent you.
oh really?
Yeah, this
All right.
thing is gonna change your life. Oh, I wrote you a note.
Oh, you did. All right. So it's called Find Your People. All
Building
right.
community in a lonely world. Because what is one of your manifestation sentences?
Is I enjoy activities with a local crew of friends.
Oh my God, that book is going to literally manifest the flop out of that.
Nice. All right. This is my note. It says, Jay-Z, this book is so badass. Read it for Pluto going through 11. Let's discuss. Love you, Andy.
Is there something on the other side of that?
Oh, as a sapphire.
Wow, cool.
This is so on brand for you too. Nice. I'm going to use this as my bookmark.
Nice. Are you gonna
Oh,
read that?
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, you've talked it up a lot too, so I'm psyched to read it. Yeah.
Gosh, I cannot wait to hear your thoughts on that book because I think if you parallel what I'm doing over here, we're just gonna have the biggest group of friends ever.
Nice. We're blowing it up East Coast and West Coast.
Yeah. Again, we did that when we were in bands too.
I know, it's true.
All right, well, today we are reading Designing the Mind.
And we were up to page 27.
That's right. That's right. We had finished page 27 and we are starting on page 28, where so we've learned that the mind is like a software of a computer. It's an algorithm. If you put certain input into it, you have certain pathways for that out, then they turn into output basically. So,
Yeah.
okay. So in this book, we're going to change our algorithms.
Yes.
Okay. So the first thing he's talking about is mindfulness. And I was like, he's like, when you have cultivated mindfulness, life becomes richer, vivid, more satisfying, and you don't take everything that happens so personally. So I was just wondering how you define mindfulness.
Well, I like this picture. that he put in here. See, here's you, and you're outside looking at your software, right? So mindfulness is like in the other book that we're reading about lazy enlightenment, it's being the witness or watching the movie of your life. So it's stepping back and remembering to step back and look at things from an outsider viewpoint.
Yeah, totally. Like watch things more like a movie than being super absorbed in everything that's going on. So mindfulness means like healthy detachment in some ways. Look, I redrew the picture because I'm making the case that the brain lives in the whole body. So I put myself outside my whole body like this.
Oh, yeah, I get it. Wait, you drew in your book?
Yeah. Don't you draw in your book? Like I have stuff circled all over the place.
No, rarely. I was gonna say, I would say never, except I did write in the other book because I wanted to make sure to mention something.
Yeah, that's why I do. All my production notes are in here. Okay, so the next thing is metacognition, is knowledge and cognition about cognitive phenomena. That is so meta.
That's totally what meta means.
Yeah. Cognition about cognition.
Yes.
Thinking about thinking.
Yeah.
So, do you have any comments on that? That's pretty much what we're doing in this whole ep series.
Yeah. Well, I had a question for you. Like when in his quote of someone called Kuladasa from The Mind Illuminated, he says, uh, you're fully present, happier, and at ease because you're not so easily caught up in the stories and melodramas the mind likes to concoct. Blah, blah, blah. You become more objective and clear-headed. Wait, where is it? Life becomes richer, more vivid, more satisfying, and you don't take everything that happens so personally. Do you find that in our course of study that we've been having ongoing since, I guess, the manifestation starts, do you feel that way in your life?
I do. I mean, yes, I've always been a little bit like that because I'm an astrologer, so I've been trained to look at things from a kind of like top-down perspective. So I've always seen myself in a movie like now Andy's in a Mars transit and she's getting in a fight, and like now she's in a Venus transit and people like her, and like I've always done that, but I think this is really hitting it, driving it home for me of like my work, for example, my work is taking away some of my hours right now. And I'm like so detached from it. Like really, I'm always like, oh, should I choose to be upset about this or should I choose to be detached? I'm like, oh, I'm going detached. Like it's just kind of like really like driving home that detachment is a healthy way to be. Like, and I've read that like in Codependent No More, they say when there's a conflict, you're supposed to detach instead of get like really involved in the conflict. So I think I'm learning this lesson for like several levels, and I think. Yeah, I have learned as an astrologer though, because I've gone to the detachment level of being pathologically detached and seeing things that way when other people do not and things like that. And so I do kind of play act like I am not detached. Like I'll be like, "Oh no, my hours got cut at work." But I'm like kind of play acting. Like I act like I care so that I seem human in some ways, you know what I mean? So I don't know, how about you?
I think definitely over the past, say, year, I have felt more satisfied and um happy and uh yeah, detached especially from like outcomes of desires or whatever. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because we learned the whole desire lesson of that we're supposed to desire things in manifestation theory, and then it's like cool that we're learning this detachment lesson also, so that we don't get so wrapped up in the outcomes of what we're manifesting. So they kind of go together really nicely.
Yeah, it's good to know what you want, and it's good to not be attached to the desire of wanting that or being able to. I think it's out of my reading this book all the way through. I did add this other statement to my morning affirmations, which is I think clearly and organize my desires in the direction of my values.
Hmm.
So I, yeah, I think that's all important things.
Interesting. Do you think about cognition a lot, or is just for this book? Are you a metacognitivist?
I think so because I'm a reframer.
Interesting.
Like, oftentimes my first response is to hold off on responding and see what happens next and then create the story around it. Or maybe to hold off on action in order to not concretize a story into our reality.
Hmm.
Like, say somebody did something that made me mad. I would not storm over to them and start yelling at them because then I'm like, well, then the story will be that we got in a fight. And then, like, if I then realize later I was wrong, then I'll have to unwind that. But the part about us getting in a fight will still exist. And then we'd have to get over that, you know? So I'd rather avoid that drama happening.
Interesting. Yeah. I think I'm a metacognitivist in as much as I'm into mind control. Like as
Hmm.
far as like not controlling other people's mind, but controlling my own mind. Because I think a lot about what I'm thinking. And when when you're a teacher, for example, you can't just think willy-nilly, just like, oh, and then I just did whatever I want. Like you have to think about how am I thinking? How am I presenting myself in class? Like, so I do think like I like to do think about thinking in as much as like pedagogy and didactics is thinking about teaching and like thinking about how you unwrap the package of the whatever the lesson is, which is a lot of thinking about thinking or thinking about, how are the students going to be thinking. And, you know, um, yeah, I think as a Gemini rising with Mercury and Scorpio, like I literally am made to think about thinking. So I like this book because it's really up that alley.
Yeah, it is.
So I have a question for you. On page 30, he's talking about Vipassana meditation. I was wondering, what is that? Do you know?
Oh, Vipassana is a certain style of meditation, and they have in the US, they have Vipassana centers around. Like, there's one in, I think, Western Mass around here, there's one in New York. And you can go there and just, if you agree, like, I'm going here to meditate for 7 days, they'll put you up like room and board, like they'll give you a little room to stay in and stuff. And then you do like karma work, like in trade, you'll like, help them do some chores like every day or something. But these Vipassana centers are set up and funded just to like increase the number of people who are meditating because they think that that's beneficial for the world.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. So he's pretty much saying that if mindfulness does not come easily to you, you may practice cultivating it through meditation. And so that's why he brought that up. So I want to know how meditation cultivates mindfulness.
It helps you practice it because the whole point of meditation is to like quiet down your body and your body's movements so that when you're just concentrating on your mind and the thoughts that arrive and practicing letting them go. And the easiest way to do that is to just witness all the thoughts and let them go. So you're practicing being the witness.
Interesting. Yeah, he says this practice will gradually guide you to a non-attached awareness of your internal process. So I think in this, and again in this book we see non-attachment as a way to a higher self. And I guess we're just gonna have to look at detachment as one of the ways to be high-minded and clean. I mean, because all the authors speak of it pretty much.
Yeah, it's pretty universal.
Yeah,
And it's funny, it's like I mean, I guess we are reading books that are all, in a certain area, but they're definitely these repeating themes that people from all sorts of different perspectives are showing very similar things.
very cool. So now I move on to this Eckhart Tolle quote, which I have a note next to that says mind control, and I'm going to read the quote. It says, "The mind is a superb instrument if used rightly. Used wrongly, however, it becomes very destructive. To put it more accurately, it is not so much that you use your mind wrongly, you usually don't use it at all. It uses you. This is the disease. You believe that you are your mind. This is the delusion. The instrument has taken you over." So I have been known to say that my mind eats itself. Like if like I used to, people always are like, "Why don't you take a day off?" And I'm like, "Because my mind just sits there eating itself." Like you know what I mean? If I don't give it stuff to do all day, it will do its TikTok, ticker tape thing all day long, and then I have to. My part of mind control is what you put in front of your mind. It's like we learned last night in our Kaizen notebook, which is our notebook that helps us get better, is that the Greeks would say that we are supposed to be an architect of our own existence. And part of that is because the Greeks were really into like cultivating the best you or, the supreme self or whatever. And it's like we are supposed to basically cultivate our own existence. And so I feel like what we put in front of our mind, like the fact that I'm choosing to put you in front of my face for an hour today to talk about the mind state, that is cultivating my mind and not letting my mind just have its way with me. I'm like giving it a thing to do that's going to be good for it. I mean, so I don't know. Do you think mind control is just done in those silent moments where you're meditating, or do you think it's this all around daily job?
Well, there's a lot there. I think both, and I think that part of it is you practice by limiting things, and then you get the control so that you can be calm in more varied circumstances. So it's all practice. Like that's what a meditation practice is it's like practicing. Right? So, for example, when in some meditations, like you can use a mantra, which is somewhere a phrase that you repeat over and over and over again. And it's the same thing, just like the way that you're talking about controlling your environment to be able to control your ability to control yourself or your thoughts, then or which thoughts you're responding to and which you're letting go. It's very similar. You use sound to kind of eliminate one of the sensory like all information that's coming in, or you use a breathing exercise. So you occupy part of your mind maybe with the breathing exercise and or the chanting, and then that way those ones are kind of being taken care of and you only have to control the other ones. Maybe it is similar to what you talk about chi. And wait, I'm gonna reach over here and grab like, have you seen these
Oh yeah.
uh or fidget spinners or whatever?
Yeah, totally. You have a fidget pineapple. Does that mean you're a swinger? Isn't the universal symbol of swingers pineapples?
They are? Oh my
Hmm.
God. No idea. Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea. I didn't know there was a universal symbol for swingers to start with. Oh my God, that's hilarious. All right. Well, anyway, yeah, so maybe it is this, I don't know, that kind of feeds into your idea about releasing chi, right? Maybe I have to pop this pineapple because I have to release some chi.
Yeah. Swinging. You need to release some cheese swinging.
So- Anyway, what you were saying about the Greeks is funny because like the next paragraph says, like this book will urge you, however, not to eliminate your sense of self, but to choose to identify as the designer of your mind rather than as your mind itself.
Can we internalize the architect of existence or the mind of designer as like one of our concepts that we take on, just like we took on manifestation? Can we take on like architect of existence? Because I think part of us is like we're learning to get the things we want, but now it's like we're learning to just in everything we do really like tech it out. Like, like I read that Find Your People book, and it's like saying you need consistency as part of, making friends. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna design this barbecue chill and grill day rage once a month, sing along party to get all my friends together consistently once a month. And it's like that's me being the architect of my community. It's like everything I read, I like start like checking out like my future with it. And I think I really like this idea that part of mind control is experience control and experience creation. And like,
Yeah. Well, we talk about that a lot about curating, right? We are curating our worlds and starting with the manifestation stuff, right? Like we are manifesting things in order to be able to live in the world that we're designing. And it's just at another level where we're designing our own minds, designing the mind, right? Like the book
hmm.
title. So that it's like every level of what we are experiencing, we are designing
Yeah,
without
and I
control
like
freak.
how this is going to take it to the next level of designing the algorithms with which we respond to things.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, because it's that thing that like you find the place like way back here that if you just tweaked something this tiny bit, it makes this huge change on this other end, right?
Yeah,
So that's why we're moving left to influence earlier.
cool. So you're saying aim your constructive efforts towards the structure of your mind. Okay. All right. And that ends us on chapter one. And do you have any other notes from chapter one?
Uh, well, I do have to say that I also love this picture about mindfulness, where it's like you interrupt right here. You put your attention right here between cause and effect, or between input and output. You put
Nice.
your attention right there. I love that picture.
Nice. I have a question for you for our episodes. So I have this idea as a teacher where, okay, I learned this from a speech and language therapist where there's like hypersymbolic concepts, and then you go down to like there's like levels of learning. There's like hypersymbolic, pre-operational, operational, and then concrete. And like if you stay in the hypersymbolic level, like people don't learn very much. But if you go down to the concrete level, and then you go back up to the hypersymbolic level, they learn a lot. So I,
Mhm.
I I try to use like real stories for these things, like when I used the barbecue example. But then I want to know, am I being too concrete and too personal, or should I be staying up in the symbolic realm on these book reads, or what do you think?
No, I think it's really important that we do give the real life examples
Okay.
because then it does, yeah. Otherwise, it's like, what are they talking about? Like, and not interesting. But I love the examples. And then, yeah, it makes sense to wrap it back up to the conceptual.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't think that we're reading these books for the total concept of them, and it's not really about us. But if we don't involve real stories, it just seems so symbolic. I don't know, it's just too theoretical and not real. So, okay, I
Right,
just wanted to check in about that.
right. You
Okay, so,
know what? Was this, maybe it wasn't in this series, it's in the Real Magic series. You asked me what pattern I'm trying to interrupt, and I didn't really have a good example, and I said I'd get back to you.
uh-huh.
Well, I do have one now because something happened, and I do, because I was like, I can't think of one right now, but then when something happens, I'll remember to remember. And I have a pattern that I would like to interrupt, which is when people say something that's like sarcastic and opposite of real and not helpful, then I get real triggered by that.
Okay.
So like we were having, so I do computer stuff for work, like operations. And we were having a production incident. And then, we were all together on a call for that. And then somebody said, like, oh, well, I was checking the monitoring and I saw that, we only have 250 gigs left of disk space on like this super important server. So that's awesome. And blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, okay, why did you say that? Like, are we supposed to take action on that? Do you think that's related to this? Do you like, because I get really triggered. I'm like, that is so not helpful.
Dude, sorry. I think it's helpful because it's comic relief because it makes me kind of laugh. But the comic relief is helpful. It cuts the mustard. But so
See how worked up I get about it?
yeah, okay, and that's kind of part of what's so funny. Is like, okay, so is it the waste of time and breath that you don't like, or is it the kind of stab of it that you don't like?
It's that, like I'm saying, it's like it's not helpful to the problem that we're trying to solve. It's like throwing in extra stuff. And I guess part of it is it triggers my autism because everything somebody says, I listen to and I try to incorporate that, right? So he's saying something and then I have to listen to it and then realize when he's like, oh, so that's awesome. Wait, he doesn't actually mean that's awesome. He means that's not awesome. But does that mean that like it doesn't give me enough clues to be able to process it quickly.
Okay, well, I want to not disagree with you, but I want to help a little bit here. So there's something we call productive omission. Okay.
Hmm.
And we use this in sign language interpreting. So somebody will say something linguistically, and we're like, that's not important in the message, and so we omit it. Let's say someone's talking really fast, and then they make one of those non sequiturs. I might not actually. I mean, I would interpret everything faithfully, but if I literally was going super fast and like didn't have time and I had to omit something, I would omit that maybe, because it's not, sometimes we omit something for the larger productivity of whatever's going on. So I want to introduce you to productive omission. So in your autistic brain where you take everything seriously, that one's a productive omission, like, oh yeah, whatever. Okay, and moving on. And like so I like where it's like I don't want you to think like, do I need to take an action item on that sarcastic comment? You just like, oh, sarcastic comment, comic relief, moving forward. Okay, like where you omit an action step from it, like for the productivity of the whole thing. Because I feel like you're dealing with productivity too, where you're like, I'm trying to get this thing done, and you just wasted some of my time and breath and energy trying to figure out what to do or something.
Yeah, yeah. I think I think you're right though. I hate the like, don't waste my cognition.
Well, it's not just that your cognition, it's like you're running on a queue, which is you're as a lead, you're trying to get the things fixed in the fastest amount of time possible. And you're like, do I need to move that up the queue? That comment, is he emotionally disturbed? Like, do I need to tend to his emotions? Like like where is that on the queue? Where is it on the queue? And you're like, if it has no productivity element or it's not an action step comment, it doesn't inform your action steps, then you just wipe it right off the queue. Just omit it.
Yeah, right on.
Okay.
All
I
right.
know that you'll find your own workaround with your algorithm, but I was just maybe offering some 2 cents.
No, no, I like that. Constructive omission. Right on.
Productive omission.
Oh, whoops, sorry.
But I
Was that?
like, but I like your reframe of it because it's a similar concept. Like it's constructive to sometimes omit things, including people's bitchy comments.
Yeah.
What about my pineapple comment? Was that a non sequitur? Was that too much of a non sequitur?
No, that was hilarious and entertaining, and also it was appropriate for the circumstances because we're not trying to solve a production incident.
Yeah, okay, okay. Oh my God, you're like you're tied to a cue so tightly that you feel autistic.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's why I go autism when people are late because I'm like, oh, do I need to move you down the queue? Is there an action step that I need to do for this? And I'm like, now I'm like triggered. It's like, whatever. Okay. But when people are late, I'm reminded that God is enough. I don't know. Okay. That's my new algorithm. Okay, so we're on chapter 2 about biases and how to rewire them. This is
Yeah.
interesting. So, okay. He says will learn why failing to detect and correct false beliefs and distorted cognition is detrimental to emotional well-being. Now, we talked about this at the Tuesday group a few weeks ago, cognitive dissonance and how it's really painful and causes a lot of emotional problems and that lead to people being stuck in all these kinds of ways. So let's talk about cognitive dissonance. Um, how would you define it?
Cognitive dissonance is when the conclusions that you would come to when thinking about something is contradicted by the evidence in front of you, and then you have to resolve the two.
Yeah, or like or like kids have cognitive dissonance all the time when they have like parents who split up and they like the parents don't like each other because the kid is both parents and then they're like, I can't function. Like, can I like my parent when my mom doesn't like my dad? Can I like my dad? And like, it's like anything that makes you like have a mind mess of like you can't decide or like cognitive dissonance kind of spins you into like a mental like I get cognitive dissonance when people are late because I'm like, should I care about this? Should I do something with my key? Like, cognitive dissonance. And I really have to stop that. But I mean, I think I guess what this chapter is saying is failing to detect and correct cognitive dissonance is detrimental.
Hmm.
So what we're learning in this chapter is if something causes your mind to freak, we have to detect that and get it out of there.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Because otherwise you get hung up on it, and then the rest of your cognition will suffer.
yeah. Okay. All right. So now in this chapter, he says that we feel strongly that some things are true and others are false, but the problem is that truth can be tricky. And then he has all these diagrams that I do not understand. I don't know if you understood these, but I did not understand them.
Oh yeah, yeah, I understand them. But and they're like just yeah, what I guess what he's trying to say here is like when you look at something from further away, it looks like this, but if you get closer and closer, you can see that it's just made out of pixels.
Oh, that's what that is.
And
Okay.
so you have to look at things from kind of like the appropriate distance, like, and that meaning that like everything that we have in our mind is a map of what's out there in the world. We uh do pattern matching so that we don't have to save every detail of everything in our minds, but we start making these maps that represent the general color of what's happening. And it has to be kind of also at the right scale. Do you
Interesting.
know this comedian? His name is Stephen Wright.
Mm-mm.
He's got a real deadpan sense of humor, right? I saw him once. It was amazing. He's so funny. I think he's really funny. He's very clever. He's like, "Well, I had this map. Scale was 1 to 1." Like it meant like he was going, it was like he said it better. It was like he was in a city or something and he had a map and he pulled out his map and unfolded it. It was a scale 1 to 1.
Yeah, so that would be like a map of this much space.
Or like the map of the city would be like
Huge. Yeah, that's
so
funny.
that's an example of a map that's not at like that he's saying just as a geographical map would be useless if it contained every single detail of the territory it portrays, our belief system must simplify the territory to be comprehensible or useful.
Interesting. So I think this one's about distortions, like what is real and what's not. Like in truth, he's saying like if you think you're looking at something here, but if you look at it here, it's like it's a different truth. And so I think, it's like how do we look at things? What's true, what's real is kind of one of the lessons here.
Or that like you gotta leave out some details in order to have a map.
Interesting. He says concepts and models, even the most sophisticated, are always inherently pixelated, and our beliefs are always incomplete. So it's possible for us to develop models which more and more closely approximate the truth without ever reaching perfect truth. It's like, will you get the truth of this book in one episode? No, we can't. We can't get this whole book in one episode or even 10 episodes. Like you're just getting like a highly pixelated version of what this book is.
Yeah, that's a good example.
Thanks. The truth is, I give good examples. No, I'm just kidding.
And you give good examples.
But they're pixel. I always give examples in pixels. He says beliefs can be wrong. So that's a thing. I mean, I guess
Well,
what he's challenging here is the idea that your mind is always right. But okay, go ahead.
yeah, and like what this picture here is showing is even though this looks correct, this back image, like when you look at it from far away, it looks correct. There can still be some pixels that are just wrong. But when you look at it from far away, you don't notice those wrong pixels.
Mhm.
And he's saying the same thing with your belief system. You have inputs and then out, and then you think things through and you come up with a certain result, right? Like, um, you know, uh, I look at that dog and I love all dogs, so I think that dog is friendly. So I look at this other dog and I love all dogs and I think that dog is friendly. I look at this dog and I love all dogs, so I think that dog just bit me. Like
Yeah.
you have these things in your mind, but like sometimes they're wrong because you didn't take into account, like, well, 99% of dogs are friendly, but there's 1% that actually really isn't.
Interesting. The whole truth and nothing but the truth. No, I don't know. Well,
So help you God.
so help me God. Well, I think what I'm learning from this chapter is that our mind is not perfect inherently. Like we have biases, we have, times we go through cognitive dissonance, we have distorted beliefs, we think things are true and they're not. So that's just something to be aware of and notice when it occurs.
Yes, and that's how this ties back to the mindfulness. If you're mindful and watching things like from a witness or observer perspective, then you'll notice when your cognition is wrong.
Okay,
And
interesting.
then you'll identify, like, oh, wait, in this case it was wrong. Why was it wrong in this case? And you'll update your map.
Okay, interesting. So we want to take a Kaizen approach to our map, which is to always get better, like to our like mind. As soon as we learn new information, we apply that to the system and we get better.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's saying cognitive algorithms are sometimes known as inferences. So, and what is an inference? It's like something you guess, or it's like you guess to be true because of what you already know.
Yeah, you infer it, right? So it's based on either knowledge or experience that you make an educated guess. That's what I'm going to say is inference.
Okay, so an inference is a conclusion reached on the basis of evidence and reasoning. So, like, a cognitive algorithm is like, from what I already know, that this is what I think, this is what I think from what I already know. And in order to change your algorithm, you have to change what you know, kind of, or like, but so inferences are like systematic, conclusions we're making based on what we already know without necessarily gathering all the information or like it's like a trigger response of what we know.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. And I wonder what the overlap, because when we were talking yesterday, was it about intuition? I think intuition is more akin to like inference. It's like it's based on something.
We could call it psychic inference.
Ooh, how about spiritual inference?
I like that. I like that.
That's our new
Intuition is
definition for
spiritual
intuition.
inference. Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Because now he's saying like biases are systematic flaws in our thinking. So how would you define a bias?
A bias is like uh if you didn't like dogs, if you were biased against dogs and then you were like all dogs are awful, that would be a bias, right? Because
Yeah.
you'd think every time you met a dog or a dog passed you on the street, you'd like start freaking out because you thought it was going to bite you or something.
Yeah, yeah. Biases are generally negative. I mean, I think we're trying to mind control into a really positive mental attitude and like and helpful mind frame, right? And I think biases are beliefs that are not helpful. Like, like if I have a bias against, a certain culture of people, which is where we generally hear it, right? Like a bias against like, I don't know, Inuits or something like that. That's really not going to trigger very many people. But like, and then I see an Eskimo walking outside my house. I'm like, oh no, like like I don't know, like that. But that's not helpful because it's like now I'm afraid of somebody that I wasn't afraid of before, and like now I'm just in cognitive dissonance land, and like, you know. I think you have a bias against sarcastic remarks because you don't see their usefulness. I think cutting the mustard and comic relief is an useful part of problem-solving processes. Like I think to cut the mustard makes everyone re-baseline back to like ready to try again.
What does cut the mustard mean?
It means like cut the tension.
Really? Oh, weird. Never heard that.
Maybe I'm making that up. It's like, but I do think jokes cut tension. So like when people make a joke like that, it kind of cuts the tension, which is useful to problem solving.
Oh, yes. So now when somebody says something like, "Isn't that awesome?" I'll be like, "Oh, are you cutting the mustard?"
Oh wait, no, I used it wrong.
Oh,
Cut the mustard is come up to expectations, reach the required standards. Like you didn't cut the mustard means you didn't reach the expectation. What is it?
oh, cut the
Um,
tension? Cut the, I don't know.
let's say idiomatic phrases for cutting tension. To relieve tension, consider using idioms that suggest easing up, getting to the point, or starting conversations. Just break the ice, cut to the chase, or easy does it. Cut to
Maybe
the chase. You can tell them,
cut
cut to
to
the
the chase.
chase.
Cut to the chase. That's awesome.
No, but I do think you have a belief that those comments are innocuous or like unuseful and wait are a waste of time and also are trying to I don't know what.
Yeah, and my reaction to them is a waste of time because then I have to stop everything and address it rather than just letting it go by,
Yeah.
which would have just let it go by and then we would have been past it and now I'm stuck with it.
You could be like you can have a pat response. That's an algorithmic pat response is like, thanks for cutting the tension with a sarcastic joke. All right, next. You can actually address it
Yeah.
and move forward.
Thanks for your helpful comment. Maybe I'll be sarcastic back.
I like that. Thanks for your overly helpful comment or your total unhelpful comment. Thanks for your unhelpful comment.
Thanks for that unhelpful comment.
Oh my
I'm
God.
sure our customers love that too. Would you like me to increase the disk space by 250 terabytes?
I want you to change your algorithm to a joke back. Like I because your team would fall even more in love with you if you started
They
to be
would
sarcastic
they
about the
would
stuff.
fall on the floor if I ever said anything like that. Because they know me. I should. All right. I'll act totally off brand and do something like that. I'll be like, thanks for your helpful comment.
I can, when people are late, I can be like, thanks for being late. It makes me like you more.
Oh, all right.
You and I just developed like 1,000 bitchy algorithms.
We'll have an anti-Kaizen day in which we replace our algorithms with less helpful ones. Because life isn't challenging enough.
Comedian.
I'll be like, thanks for that comment, because life wasn't this production incident wasn't challenging enough. All right.
Oh my God. Well,
Where
we
were we?
should end the episode on laughing because the
Oh,
next thing we're gonna look at is a bunch of fallacies. So maybe we should pick up fallacies next week.
oh.
Although
That
I
sounds fallaciic.
was gonna say, I bet you love fallacies. Shit. Oh my God.
All right. Oof.
All right, I'm gonna make some bomb thumbnails in a second here.
All right, cool.
All
You do
right,
that. Well, this was great. Thanks for talking to me about designing the mind. I'm glad that we made it all the way through to chapter page 42.
nice. Well, I'll see you at the forum.
All right.
All
See you
right,
later.
bye.